Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Current Issues. I'm your host, Hesham Tillawi. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we had Cynthia McKinney, the Green Party nominee for the as a presidential candidate, was scheduled to be with us tonight, but unfortunately, because of, this is current issues, so the issues themselves kind of prevented us from having Cynthia, so we had to reschedule due to what happened and what took place in India. The horrible, horrible scenes that we all witnessed on our TV in the last week. I can't really... if you're speechless, if you're confused, if you don't know, that's okay, because it's that complicated and it's very, very hard to understand. So we wanted to make sure that tonight we talk to you, try between you and I to understand what took place in India, in Mumbai, or Bombay as it used to be called before. But, we will have Cynthia McKinney on at another time. She's a great person, and she should have been the next president of the United States. If you never heard of Cynthia McKinney, she was a congressman out of Georgia who basically decided not to play by the rules. She did not play ball. Well, she did, but not in their way, not the way they wanted her to play ball, but she decided to speak the truth. She confronted the truth. She confronted Rumsfeld. She confronted Bush. She confronted many these people who basically took us to that senseless war in Iraq. And she lost the election, and she tried as the presidential candidate for the Green Party, and unfortunately, she did not make it. Well, the reason she did not make it because they did not want you to hear what Cynthia McKinney had to say. But we will have her on another time. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, what you had seen on your TV screen were a bunch of terrorists, I guess that's the word, that's the only word we can use for them, took to the streets of Bombay or Mumbai and killed innocent people. There are some questions, ladies and gentlemen, that one has to ask himself. And sometimes some silly questions and some silly ideas that come to your head, it may not be as silly as you think they are. Number one, some of the silly ideas that I had, you've seen a picture for one of the terrorists there. Actually, probably the only picture for a terrorist, a clear picture for a terrorist. It happened to be the same guy that they had arrested or captured. But 9 others, they were killed. Number one, it's hard for me to believe that the only guy we have a picture of is the only guy that ends up surviving, but it could have been a coincidence. That's one of the silly questions that I told you about. So don't think too much on that question, but I had to throw it out there. But I really have a lot of questions as far as why is it that 10 people are able to do what these people have done. I mean, this is not a Hollywood movie. This is not Rambo, where they would have to stop and reload and bring in more ammunition, etc. And if the scene did not go well, they will stop and do another shoot. But these people have, for 3 days, 10 of them supposedly have done. Look at this horrible scenes, this carnage that took place in India. You ask yourself, why? What cause could be worth that? Taking innocent lives. How could 10 people be in 10 different places and do what they have done And then the Indian army can't take out, how many people were there at the Taj Mahal? There couldn't be more than 3 or 4 people at the most, because remember, these are only 10 people that had done this. And some of the other questions, if these people were there, like the ADL and Abraham Foxman wanted us to know that these people were targeting Israelis, they were targeting Westerners, they were targeting Americans. Well, we have 200 people dead, most of them are Indians, 6 Americans, 5 Israelis. So these people were not targeting Westerners. They were targeting anybody that moves. They were there to take as many lives as they can before they go down. And it took a long time for them to go down. Why? How could 10 people do these things? Is it really 10 people that have done all this? And then, this is the kicker here. What is the Israeli connection here? Why would they, if they have grievances with India, why would they go to this Jewish house, the Chabad house? Why? Well, I don't know. But you have to understand who the Chabads are. These people are very powerful. This is a group, it's a sect of Orthodox Jews who are very powerful, extremely rich. They are the elite of the elite, and they are extremely pro-Israel. They're very much in control of a lot of government. What they say goes. And we have pictures for these people when they were with President Bush, when they were with Chirac, when they were... I mean, these people are always somewhere at a president's office. Now, what is the connection here? Because definitely there is something between India, Israel, the attack, the Jews. What is the connection? There are many questions, ladies and gentlemen, that we will not have immediate answers for. Now, who really did this? Was it Pakistan, as a lot of the same people are back on TV again to blame Pakistan? The same people who blamed Saddam for things that he did not do, the same people who were after the United States to go and attack and destroy Saddam Hussein and destroy Iraq, are the same people now on American television telling you that we need to get rid of this threat. And the threat is Pakistan. Did Pakistan really have anything to do with this? Well, we are going to show you a very quick clip of, now some of it you might not be able to understand, just pay close attention. It will be in English, and sometimes they will revert to Urdu. But the first clip is going to be like a very quick summary of what took place. And then the second clip is where the Minister of Law, former Minister of Law in India, is saying that Pakistan has nothing to do with this. And after that, when we come back, we are going to okay, I think that was done on the air. You might want to try to okay. I was wondering what was happening. All right. Well, they're setting up the clip for the next. Actually, what you had seen was clip in case we had Cynthia McKinney. But like I said, we had to reschedule Cynthia McKinney. But the clip we are going to see, it's about Pakistan. And then after we come back, we will be joined with Professor Kawkab Siddiqui, from Baltimore, Maryland, and we will talk to him about what's going on in Pakistan and what his thought about exactly what is going on here. Is this just terrorism in action, or there's a lot more than that? Is Pakistan what is really is the target, or is India the target? When we come back, we're going to find out, is Pakistan the target in this 9/11, in this India's 9/11? Because Iraq was the target in 9/11. Now, India's 9/11, it looks like Pakistan is the target. Let's play the clip and we'll be right back.
Out in the Trident Hotel and the Leopold Cafe. Reports suggested that it was just another gang fight. But with a heavy cover of policemen cordoning off South Mumbai surrounding the Trident Hotel, continuous shooting well past midnight and sporadic blasts, suspicions of these miscreants being terrorists were confirmed. However, it wasn't just South Mumbai that was under siege. 2 people were killed when a taxi blew up near Santa Cruz Airport. The drama continued with 2 terrorists stealing a police van. Firing on journalists before being killed in an encounter near Girgaon Chowpatty. Terrorists wielding AK-47 and MP5 rifles wreaked havoc on some of the city's biggest landmarks. Chhatrapati Shivaji Railway Terminus, the Taj Mahal Hotel at the Gateway of India, the Oberoi Trident at Nariman Point, the domestic airport at Santa Cruz, the Jew-occupied Nariman House, the Kama and GT hospitals near CST, and the Metro Multiplex. While some managed to evade the terrorists, some had to spend the night under the shadow of death.
They were young boys, maybe 20, 25 years old.
Yeah?
Yeah,
And,
Indian.
With beards or like...
No,
Nothing? But these young boys, were they saying something, were they shouting something?
They basically were saying they wanted anyone with British or American passports. Yeah, they wanted
Gun battles between Indian Army personnel and terrorists continued throughout the day. 100 people have died and 300 injured. And among the dead, valiant chief of the Mumbai anti-terror squad, Hemant Karkare, and encounter specialist, Vijay Salaskar. Mumbai has always been resilient in the face of terror, bouncing back after the blasts in 1993 to embracing normalcy post the train blast just 2 years ago. But this time, fear seems to loom above the city. And the question is, will Mumbai triumph over this, the biggest ever terror strike on the country? With
इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज मौजूद हैं और बिल्कुल ये नहीं कहा गया from the prime minister level to every level of every tier of the bureaucracy or the Indian army कि जी Indian intelligence had failed in performing its duty when this incident took place in Mumbai. और बड़ी हैरान को थोड़ी सी ये बात भी है, बल्कि काफी हद तक ये बात है कि अभी तक होटल के ऊपर कब्जा है मिलिटेंट्स का और हॉस्टेजेस मौजूद हैं. So where is the Indian army? The Indian army, after 24 hours, the Indian commandos have not been able to recapture the hotels and to kill the terrorists who are involved in this horrific incident. ये बहुत सी सवालात हैं जो हमारे ज़हनों में आज आ रही हैं और हम चाहेंगे इन सवालात के हम आपको कोई जवाब ऐसे पेश करें जिससे हमें पता लगे कि why is it that we in Pakistan, we sitting in Pakistan are the ones who are blamed every time an incident or a violence takes place in India. बहुत ज़रूरी एक और मुझे ये कहा जा रहा है कि हमारे साथ अब हम आपको एक इंटरव्यू के कुछ हिस्से सुनाना चाहेंगे जो कि इंडियन इस बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट के बाद इन मुंबई was carried out by our News One team, and the gentleman they spoke to is Mr. Ram Jethmalani, who is the former Law Minister of India. और ये बता दूं इस जो बात जो लुबे लुबाब इस गुफ्तगू से सामने आई वो ये उन्होंने कहा राम जेठमलानी साहब ने कि पाकिस्तान in no way was involved in these bombings. आइए सुनते हैं.
and which they have especially besieged, these terrorists, is a house in which 5 Jewish families are living. नहीं, ये पाकिस्तान से इनका कोई मुझे नहीं लगता है ताल्लुक। इसके जो implications हैं वो बड़ी खतरनाक है, इतनी खतरनाक है कि this kind of terrorism is creating ultimately a huge hostility between Islamic nations and non-Islamic nations.
Exactly.
And if a showdown takes place finally, please understand that nuclear power is with non-Islamic countries. And the terrorists don't know, they are so ignorant that they are almost trying to fulfill the biblical prophecy of the war of wars. What are they trying to do? I can't understand this. They are uniting the whole world against even innocent Muslim countries.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, that was, if you did not understand some of the language there, that's okay, but I think there was English translations. As they speak, they also translate. The main thing we wanted to make sure that you understand that some people in India, like this was a former law minister in India who's saying that Pakistan did not have anything to do with it, but what they are trying to do is create this hostility between Muslims and non-Muslim countries. Now, when he says they're trying to create hostilities between Muslims and non-Muslim countries, well, who are they? Well, maybe we can figure out who are they when we speak to our guest who is with us now on the line, Professor Kawkab Siddiqui. Professor, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you, Dr. Hesham.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dr. Siddiqui, why Pakistan always blamed for anything that happens in India? What is the deal here?
I think this is what is known as media hype. So there is this Zionist propaganda machine all over the world whose job is to bring down Pakistan. See, Pakistan is the only country which has persisted in not recognizing Israel. And as a result, it has gone down into the bad books of these people. So they have started a lot of things which can brainwashing. So anything happens, they say Pakistan must be behind this. Or Pakistanis do this, or Pakistanis do that. The Pakistanis beat their wives, and Pakistanis are terrible people, etc. The main thing is, it's called demonization, which happened at one time in Iraq also. That when you want to bring down a country, you first have to demonize it. So you have this strange kind of idea that Pakistan is full of terrorists and they are, always out to do some harm to someone or the other. And there is very basic issues are ignored, that there is a conflict going on in Kashmir, which is under Indian occupation, which seeps down into India. And you can't blame Pakistan for that. Kashmiris are fighting. Indian Muslims have been very badly treated for years. And then you have this Pakistani persistence in not recognizing Israel. And the poet philosopher of Pakistan, Iqbal, who was behind the whole concept of Pakistan, he said that we can never recognize Israel because this is an entity which once it gets into the body politic of the Muslim world, it will be like a cancer. And he spoke about this much before even Pakistan was formed. It was just an idea. And since then, other great Pakistanis like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Qaid-e-Azam, or the great leader of Pakistan, he would not recognize or have anything to do with Israel. And the Israelis are not a very forgiving people.
Now, Professor Siddiqui, let's see. Okay, can you tell me what are your thoughts about what just took place in India?
My thoughts?
Yes.
Well, it seems that there is an attempt being made here to make India and Pakistan fight. and to use one against the other, and both of them cannot afford war. They're they're in need of basic needs for their people. Like India, although it has a middle class and so on, and Pakistan has a middle class, but their people are in need of the basic necessities of life. They cannot afford war. But an attempt is being made to bring them into collision course so that there will be a crumbling of the two countries. And Pakistan, especially, being an Islamic country, it has to be brought to its knees. So if there is a war, it will be very expensive for Pakistan, because it is a small country as compared to India, and has armed forces which are about 1/3 of those of India. So this will be a very sweet revenge for the Israelis if they can bring about this conflict. So there is an attempt, even the weakest Pakistani will tell you that he doesn't like Israel, and they don't want to accept Israel for the simple reason that Pakistan, is a conceptual country. It is a country based upon an ideology that people have the right to live according to their own ideas. That is, you could call it separatism, but in a more positive sense, I would say that this is the idea of self-determination.
Okay. Now,
we don't want to be part of India or anything there, but these forces which are at work, like the Zionists, are out to put an end to the independence of Pakistan.
okay. So now, if we take a look at really what happened, you think somebody has grievances with India, but why, if you have grievances with India, why also attack this Chabad house, which is the Jewish house in Mumbai? Why would you do that if your grievances are with India? Why are they bringing in the Israel-Jewish issue here?
Well, I'm sure that as the investigation proceeds, we'll get to know more. But at this time, what we can see is that there is a very big alliance which has been formulated in the last few years between Israel and India. And America is in fact being egged on by the Israelis to have this union with India so as to squeeze Pakistan, as they say. There was a Brookings Institute conference yesterday where they were discussing this and how Pakistan should be squeezed. So this attack on the Israelis, it might seem to be a totally, a random kind of attack, but I doubt it very much because, you see, it brought out the fact of the Israeli-Indian alliance. And that has hurt the Israelis so much that this kind of crybaby kind of publicity they have been receiving in the American media, I'm sure.
Well, also, as a matter of fact, they received a lot of publicity in the Indian media. As you know, Indian media also is controlled, just like Fox Network and the media here in the United States are controlled. Indian media is also controlled. I mean, if you watch Indian TV in the last week, you think you are watching Fox or you're watching an Israeli network.
I'm not surprised because, you see, these connections are usually kept hidden. For example, the editor of Newsweek magazine, his name is
Fareed Zakaria.
And he has been working for many years for supporting the Zionist causes. Newsweek has a lot of circulation. So through that, he has been working, and now suddenly this situation happened in Bombay or Mumbai, and he suddenly revealed that he has a very big business interest in that Taj Hotel.
His mother works there.
His mother is the editor of all the Taj, publications, the whole conglomerate of hotels, and she is the editor. So the problem with us is, Dr. Hesham, and probably you are one of the few people who knows about these things, and a few other people know, but by and large, the general public does not know what are the real connections on these people in the media who come and support Israel and who attack Pakistan and so on. Suddenly you find, that Jon Stewart is a Zionist Jew. And I thought he was very funny. And one day
we've been knowing that for a long time.
Yes. It took him about 1 year to reveal it, And they have these names which sound so American. So, there should be such a thing as a declaration of not only intent, but who are these people, who give us all this information. All this information on the media is very contrived and very, as if someone gives them a signal and they all start doing the same thing. How can independent media, as I'm a journalist like you, one of the things which surprises me is that it is not in human nature to have 3 cable channels all saying more or less the same thing. They don't differ, they don't, fight, although they might be fighting about Obama and McCain, but they don't fight about Israel at all.
Now, let me bring in another factor here. As you know, the Israeli-United States government alliance that went into place to actually destroy Iraq, they tried to get India into their camp, and they did not succeed. So could this be, because India's strategic alliances and self-interest is not really with the West. It's, even though it likes to go with the West, but it actually with the East, because they have China on one side, they have Russia, so they have other factors here besides going in the Western camp and supporting Israel. So was this an attempt to drag India? If you don't want to come on your own to our camp, we're gonna force you to come to our camp. Do you see it that way, strategically speaking, that they're dragging India on Israel's camp?
Dr. Shah. Yeah, Dr. Shah, strategically you might be right, because India has been coming out of its independent position very slowly but steadily, because at one time there was a Soviet Union which created a balance in the world politics between the USSR and the United States. But the Soviet Union is no longer there, and India, as is upper classes of India, they're getting more and more into bed with the capitalists here in America. Look at this Silicon Valley and so on. You'll find it's absolutely packed with Indians. And a lot of this outsourcing of business from America is happening to India. Now, if you have a AOL account or MSN account or some other thing like that, and you need some technical support, you suddenly find you're talking to someone in New Delhi, because it has been outsourced. So there is this interlocking of the upper classes of India with the Western elites and the capitalists, which is slowly pushing India, has pushed, I think, away from its socialistic ideals, which Nehru at one time talked about socialism and stuff like that. But with now the main people are Tata and so on. Tata is the big capitalist.
Dr. Siddiqui,
very prominent.
Yeah, one thing that I find interesting, though, in this whole thing, anytime you have a hostage situation or a terrorist situation, normally those terrorists will have demand. They want something. But with this thing, I mean, 200 people killed, 300 people injured, all these places blown up, and we haven't heard not even one demand. Do you find this strange?
It's not only strange, it's extremely extraordinary and unusual. And this does raise a lot of questions. And I think as time passes, we might get to learn a little more. There was a picture of this, one of the assailants, that he had this religious thread he was wearing on his arm, which Muslims do not wear. It is a Hindu ritual. Why was he wearing it? Was it as a disguise, or was it something which showed that he was a Hindu who felt his life was in danger, and he was a Hindu terrorist? So there are a lot of these questions. That a lot of violence against Muslims in India has been perpetrated and later on found out to have been done by extremist Hindu organizations, like the burning of that train in Gujarat many years back, which led to a huge massacre of Muslims and rape of Muslim women and so on.
What do you know about the mafia in Mumbai?
Very, very active, just like in any big city, but over there it is one, and they might have, links with, again, I don't have any fixation on Israel, but Israelis are among the biggest gangsters in the world. They have been, let alone India, they've been distributing their hardcore, what is it called, drugs here in the United States. And one of them was caught with millions and millions of dollars of worth of hardcore cocaine, and he was then taken back to Israel, and he lives there in a so-called prison, but which is more like a palace. So in India, it is understandable. It's a soft country, in many ways. It's very easy to infiltrate, so there must be all kinds of agencies at work. And Pakistan is very suspicious of this whole attack. It could be, as some say, that it could be an overflow of the fighting in Kashmir, where India has been perpetrating some very serious crimes. And on the other side, there might be an overflow of the, gangsterism and the big drug business, which is also in millions of dollars. And it was meant to show that the government of India is not in control and to create chaos. And I was listening to the Urdu someone was speaking in Urdu earlier.
Yes, well, we had, I showed a clip from, I believe, a Pakistani television station they were saying, why are we, if anything happens in Pakistan, we always get blamed for it. And then there was an interview with the former Indian Minister of Law, who was saying that India did not have anything to do, Pakistan did not have anything to do with it, that these forces who want to have conflict between the Islamic countries and non-Islamic countries. So apparently what he was alluding to is that this was something that somebody else, like a third party, had orchestrated to blame Pakistan, so you can't have a war between Pakistan and India. So that's what it was.
That's what I have been writing about too, that, just like at one time the Americans fought Russia to the last Afghan, now they might create a conflict between India and Pakistan.
Right.
That might be the way of bringing down Pakistan.
But Professor, if you stay with me, we're going to go to the phones and speak with Rachel on line 1. Rachel?
Yes. Hello, Hesham. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. First of all, I want to say this is Jewish supremacy in action is what it is. Obama is trying to get us into Pakistan, or his APAC operatives are trying to get us into Pakistan as well as Afghanistan and into a war with them. And, India is developing a relationship with Israel. You understand that?
Right.
And, as well as Americans. And Israel is selling them weapons. And so it's just really plain to see, that this is going to blow up soon. Go to neoconzionistthreat.com. That's a really good URL, and you'll get a lot of information, a lot of people like the president of.
Rachel, did you have a question for Professor Siddiqui, or do you have a thought on what took place in India?
Well, I just basically think the Mossad is behind it, and the Shabbat, like you said, which is probably one in the same. And I just see, what they want to do. I think their goal is to do some ethnic cleansing on anyone that doesn't support them. Does he feel that way too?
Professor Siddiqui, you feel the Mossad had something to do with it?
See, in a way, Rachel is very perceptive that you see when Obama went to APAC, and then he promised to go into Pakistan.
Change the channel.
That would indicate that there is pressure from the Zionist lobby to do this. So one of the ways of doing this is to create this intense conflict between India and Pakistan, which would lead to the collapse of Pakistan, because Pakistan is already involved on its western frontier, fighting the tribes and so on. So this might, I think she's making very good sense that if you see things from the beginning, that Obama, went to APAC and he more or less almost kneeled down and, said how much he loves them even more than anything else, and he will do even make Jerusalem Israeli city forever, and it will be undivided. Now, then he promised to go into Pakistan. So if a reflection of what he wants to do, then the means have to be provided by intelligence agencies like CIA and Mossad and so on. It makes sense to think, what would they want to do? That one way is, of course, to create conflict. Sometimes the conflict might seem to be very, normal in the sense that these two countries do want to fight, They've had a long history of fighting. So why not create a situation, especially when already Pakistan is very weak because it has its troops on the wrong side of the border.
Very good.
So
Thanks. Thank you, Rachel, for the call.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. All right. So, of course, we may never know. I mean, it's been 7 years since 9/11, and 9/11, it turned out to be a big lie, and we may never know exactly what took place on 9/11. It looks like we may never know what took place in Mumbai, and especially if the Mossad and the CIA had any part in it, because right now, as what we know is the United States had warned India, and actually the president of Taj Mahal, the hotel, the whole chain, he said that they were warned that something was going to take place. So somebody knew that was something going to happen, but yet the Indian government did not do anything, and they let it happen. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is kind of weird for a boat to come all the way from Karachi to Bombay or Mumbai, because, that's about 500 kilometers. A little boat like that, you'd find it very difficult. People would be starving on the way. See, these people seem to be quite healthy when they came. So you can't just make a little journey of 500 kilometers, land in a foreign soil, and then carry out this horrendous kind of attack. I think there is more to it than meets the eye, and the terrible thing would be that we might find out who was behind this in the terrible situation of a war taking place. Then find out and say, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm wondering why the Indian government is actually saying there were only 10 people. It seems like there's no way on earth that, and now they're saying there might be 5 on the loose, but I mean they're not even saying that, but the news reports are saying there might be 5 others on the loose. But even if you have 5 more, even if 20 more, it seems like there's no way that just 10 people. And by the way, a couple of them they killed before, and they captured one, and it happened. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, that the only picture we have, the only clear picture we have of a terrorist, is the same guy that they captured, and I just find that funny and silly at the same time. So how could 10 people do like all these 9 different bombings? And then
Dr. Hesham, may I say this, when this event took place, suddenly the major media here, which we can call the corporate media or the corporate media with the Zionist people working in it, they seem to have been given a signal. And for straight 3 days, they were talking about Mumbai as if it's an attack on the United States.
Right.
This is incredible. Can you imagine? I mean, this kind of coverage even Obama doesn't get when he's winning his elections and all that.
Exactly. And also reminding us of, the Jewish, the rabbi and his wife. Their pictures were splashed on TV for 24 hours, and at the same time, the funerals in Israel for hours and hours. So they were very much programming the people of what they were doing during 9/11. I mean, this is very big, and it's orchestrated to very much, I guess, accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. Now, do you fear for Pakistan? I know Pakistan is your homeland. Do you fear for Pakistan?
Yes, I think if the Indians start their bombing raids and all as they're threatening to do, it all depends on how quickly the Pakistanis unite. If they unite and put up a front against these attempts at aggression, then things might improve. But on the other hand, it looks quite bad at this time. Because India has 3 times military forces, 3 times that of Pakistan, and then on the other side you have the American forces in Afghanistan. So it looks pretty bad, and you have very corrupt politicians in Pakistan like in many other countries. So yes, I do fear that things could get pretty bad, especially where they're trying to get one Islamic leader arrested as a terrorist. India is claiming that so-and-so is responsible, hand him over.
Now,
and that area, they're even threatening to bomb that area, which is just outside Lahore, which is very heavily populated. It could lead to heavy casualties.
Now, I guess one idea out there is Pakistan will take a tougher stand with the tribal areas between Pakistan and India. Pakistan and Afghanistan. And so very much what the leadership in Pakistan would probably do is finish off the resistance there, and then they will be left alone, and it will be easy for India and the other Western government to actually finish them off. Because if there's any resistance against Western colonization, if we are to call it that, or attempt of colonization, the resistance would be from the tribal area. So if the leadership in Pakistan finishes off the tribal area, then there's nobody there to resist. Is that a correct reading?
Yes, Dr. Hesham, you're exactly on target. The only thing which will go wrong for these planners is that the people in those areas are very good fighters. You can see in Afghanistan the Taliban have come back and they're fighting the Americans and so on. The Pakistanis, the Pakistani tribal people, they're inexperienced in this kind of modern fighting, and they are being hit very hard by the Pakistani army. But once they get on their feet and they organize themselves better than they have, these plans might fail. That is what could mess up the entire planning of these forces. But you're right. At this time, that's what it looks like. Right?
Because there's no way on earth that India or the Western world is going to accept a Pakistan with nuclear bomb or nuclear power, military nuclear power. And incidentally, what the law minister of India said, that the nuclear power is with non-Muslim countries. Nuclear bombs is with non-Muslim countries. The only Muslim country that has the bomb is Pakistan. So do you think that would be like a bargaining chip that they will use to say, get rid of nuclear bomb and we'll keep you in power?
I think that will be a line which Pakistanis will not cross. Because that would mean that's like national suicide. If you accept that, then the Indians will attack. They will take over. This is one of the deterrents against Indian military forces, is the nuclear weapon which Pakistan has. And Pakistan has a lot of these, jihad organizations which have now tremendous support there. So if India attacks, there might be a people's war. It will be sort of like Iraq. I hope it doesn't happen, but Pakistan is not going to give in. That's for sure.
Okay.
Things might backfire against these plotters and planners.
Now, tell me, what's the right path for India to take? Should they remain in the Eastern Bloc, where they should say, look, we are here with the Chinese and the Russians and the Pakistanis, and could that be the right path for India, or should they jump over to the other camp?
I think it will be disastrous for India to play these big power games, because firstly, India is not a big power. It wants to be, but it has tremendous weaknesses within it. I think if it does not stop these activities in alliance with the Zionists, it might find that it might be breaking up from within. There is a tremendous Sikh, the Sikh people.
Right, the Sikh.
SIKH, who are in the Punjab. They have suffered tremendously at the hands of India. Then you have the Muslims in Kashmir. Then you have the left fighters in Assam, in the eastern side. And a lot of Indian people are also known as Dalits. That is, they are the black untouchable people of India who have been mistreated.
Who's in power in India, Professor?
These are the upper class. They are known as Brahmin. They claim they are the children of God. Brahmin, is the upper class of there's a caste system over there, and Christians have suffered tremendously in India in the last 1 year, attacks on churches. So there is a tremendous amount of fragmentary movement within India. India has never been united in history other than by military force, or under the British it was united. Now it has been united after independence for quite a long time, but now these vociferous activities, the Indians crushed the Sikhs in a terrible way, and went into their golden temple in Punjab, and now what they're doing in Kashmir is bad. So I think if they start getting into these big power games with the Israel and the United States, as they are, they definitely are doing that, they might be actually asking for serious trouble.
Now, what about who has a hold on the government there, and also on the banking systems and monetary systems, etc., etc.? Is it like in the West where you have a lot of Jewish influence in those areas?
Yeah, these Tatas and other very big capitalists. India has some very big capitalists, some of the biggest capitalists in the world. Buffett would envy them. Linked with the Western capitalistic and, if you want to call it, Jewish Zionist business interests, these are all interlinked. And India's socialism has gone down the drain, and instead it has been replaced by this capitalist power increasing on an exponential way for over all these 20 years or so. So yes, there is prosperity at the top, just like we have prosperity at the top here in the United States. But the poverty is tremendous. So this could lead to the collapse of India in the long range if they, talking strategically, if they continue playing these games as if they're a superpower. They're having a problem holding down Kashmir with 700,000 troops over there, the biggest occupation army in the world. So I think these games are very, really not wise at all, trying to, play into the Zionist American game to crush Pakistan and so on. They might end up uprooting themselves.
Because, history tells us that a lot of the Jews who were in Iran and even in Afghanistan. Afghanistan at one time, it had a sizable Jewish community that was thriving and actually controlling trade in that area. But when Afghanistan and Iran got their independence, a lot of these Jewish family and Jewish communities, they moved to India because India at that time was under British control, and it was easy for them to actually continue doing their thing, which is trade and money and banking, etc., etc. And all that money from Iran Jewry and Afghanistan Jewry, it all went to India. Are we seeing some of this old money there in India now?
I can't say for sure, but this one thing is for sure, and that is that over the last 2.5 decades, India has very quietly carried out these, agreements and recognition of Israel. And you find that Israeli consulate appearing in Mumbai many years before India officially recognized Israel. So there is a tremendous amount of secret work which has been going on.
Well, that might explain.
Now that now they feel confident enough to talk about it openly.
Okay, because that explains why India went from being in the non-allied camp and actually was, I don't want to say anti-Israel, but they were pro-Palestinians at one time. And but after the revolution in Iran and after what happened in Afghanistan, we saw a lot of money and a lot of influence move into India, and with that influence and money, we saw India's position on the Israeli Palestinians and even on the Pakistani. It's like it's more hardliners now against Muslims and against, I guess, more pro-Israel and pro-Zionist.
Yeah, the Indians, for instance, held these. I was surprised myself. This is one of the, nothing surprises me in politics nowadays, but I was surprised to see the report about Indian and American joint military exercises in Nevada. That's near your country, near your state, north of Illinois. So this is one strange thing. And then they have the nuclear agreement between the
Right, they have the nuclear agreement with India.
Yeah. So that's pretty close, and there's no discussion, no criticism. Like, look at all the criticism of Iran, which has been going on. And although Iran does not have the capacity or for any bomb or anything like that for the next 15 years, but now India already has the bomb, and now America has a nuclear deal with it. These things are very indicative of the change. This is not the non-aligned India of Nehru. This is the India of Tata and the capitalists and the very extreme Hindus and this extreme right-wing movements in India and movements against Christians and against Muslims and against Buddhists and against Dalits. A lot of intolerance. Recently they had a huge series of attacks against Bangladeshi immigrants in Assam, on the east side of India. So this is a country which is ready for upheaval, and I think we should keep an eye on what's happening over there to see how things develop.
Very good. Dr. Siddiqui, I just have time to say thank you very much for being with us tonight. It has really been a pleasure to have you on, and we will call on you as we see things move on with what's going on in India. We will definitely call on your expertise. Thank you, sir.
Well, Dr. Hesham, I'm honored because, you are one of the few voices in this country who have even dared to discuss stuff like this. So I thank you very much, and it was my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, like we always say, we bring you the other side, and if you have been watching this program in the last 6 years, you know we had been on the right side all along. When we first started telling you about the war in Iraq and about 9/11, some of you thought we were crazy, we were nuts, but at the end, all of you came around. And when I say all of you, I can put my signature on that and say all of you came around, because what we taught you here and what we told you and we brought to you on this program on Current Issues TV is the truth. It turned out to be. We told you about the weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein never had. We told you about 9/11. That until now we don't know what happened on that day, a day that changed history of the world. We don't know what happened on that day. We don't even have an investigation of what happened on that day. And now we have another 9/11, but of a different kind. Are they related? Are they connected? Are they one and the same? Well, at this point we brought you the other opinion. You're listening to one of the opinion, the only one that you see on TV from all channels, but we want to be different than them because we were different in the beginning 6 years ago, and now they are coming around to tell you 7 years later the same things that we told you in 2001 and 2002. Now, what is going on in India? If you can think, you will know that what you saw on TV was something to confuse anybody. But yet keep your mind open. Don't believe what you see on television, because it could be orchestrated. It could be the program to program your mind just like they did. Don't let them do it to you this time. You are smarter than that. Don't let them program you to believe the garbage they give you on television. You go and read up on it. You go and seek the truth, because the truth will end up setting all of us free. But they don't even give the truth to our Congress, because if you heard some of the congressmen we interviewed on this channel, they all told us that what they basically told them about 9/11, that these people attacked us because they don't like our freedom. Go out there and tell your constituents that they attacked us because they don't like our freedom. Well, they attacked India because of what? They don't like biryani? I love biryani. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next Thursday. By the way, our time is going to be changed in January. We'll let you know that next time, what time it will be. Good night. Go do the right thing.
The views and opinions expressed in the previous program